privacy. You come on to me. So this is about avoiding intrusion. So civil law says that photographing people on the street is fine, but being the paparazzi or hounding people isn't. And that comes under the Protection from Harassment Act 1997. Does the subject have a reasonable expectation of privacy? So the case study I'll use here is Wills and Kate. A French photographer took topless photos of Kate from over a kilometre away when she was in her back garden. Obviously, she has an expectation of privacy because if you're using a camera that can take photos from a kilometre away, obviously that's majorly breaching someone's privacy. Would the publication bring harm to the subject, particularly with children or vulnerable adults? Is it covertly recorded, which is against the editor's code of practice, which we'll come on to in a later module? Nightclubs, you have very little expectation of privacy, but if it was your own bedroom or someone else's bedroom or bathroom or somewhere where obviously the expectation of privacy is significantly higher, taking photos or covertly taking photos would be very much frowned upon. Ofcom and the editor's code of practice, they talk about the doorstepping technique, which is where essentially you do a whole investigation. Panorama, I like to use this a lot. You do a whole investigation and then ask someone for an interview half an hour before it goes on air. So, for example, doorstepping shouldn't happen until they have declined the request for an interview. So particularly when you'll see some news teams, they'll go and literally knock on someone's door and interview them with a camera. And that's the technique of door stopping. So it shouldn't happen unless the request for the interview has been declined, or the investigation would be impeded by an open request. And that kind of leads on to the kind of, you can take a photograph of someone. If you're stood on the highway and they're on their property, that's fine, so long as you're not using zoom. So, for example, if they were stood outside their house and you were stood on the main road, we could reasonably take a photo of that person, so long as you're not using incredibly long telephoto lens. Respect people who refuse to answer your questions, or they request you to stop filming, recording, or photographing them. If they ask you to stop, Ofcom, the editor's code of practice, so you must respect that. Always try and identify yourself as a journalist, because you get either a better reaction or they just won't talk to you. Being honest will always do you better stead than trying to kind of covertly and go around and skirt the issue.